Appreciate you being here. I got to tell you, it's been a while, Joan, since the 5 o'clock hour was, since we got so many text messages on the super text line, 615-737-9986. Guy asked me a question that is quite provocative. What is your favorite movie? Now, I don't know why this guy is asking me what my favorite movie is, but it actually stumped me because I actually don't know what my favorite movie is.
Isn't it the gargantuan something?
No, and that's not War of the Gargantuas, and I don't want to get sidetracked. At 8:35, we are going to, the three of us plus the crisscross handoff, Chris Hand, we'll all talk about what our favorite movie is.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
All right, so.
Okay.
Because I think I know what my favorite movie is, but I got to think about that. So, Heidi Campbell. You folks remember when Murphy Show, when Matt Murphy kicked Heidi Campbell off of his show? I don't even remember what it was. But last week, I think it was last week or the week before, the days fly by. But there is that story about how Freddie O'Connell was late to call in the National Guard, didn't want the National Guard to come into Nashville because he was afraid of the optics. Remember that whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
So I had a number of different Metro Council members, telling me that this is what was going on. And I talked about it. And as a matter of fact, I talked about it before it made it into, some of the other media. And so one of the council members said Heidi Campbell is one of those council members who has a problem with how Freddie is handling this. So I wanted to blow the whistle, and I wanted as many names as I possibly could. Nobody wanted to go on the record. Okay, fine. So I call Heidi Campbell, and Heidi, this is Dan Mandis. I'm calling from WTN Radio, and I want to know if, you're happy with the way Freddie O'Connell has been handling the situation with the ice power outage and so forth. Wait a minute, she says. Is this the station with Matt Murphy? And I said, well, I do the morning show. I don't do the afternoon show. But yeah, it's the same station. I'm looking to essentially, help out your constituents and talk about how Freddie is just not doing right by your constituents. I want to sort of blow the whistle on this or help whistleblowers. And she wouldn't talk to me because she said that WTN, as a radio station, was rude to her, and she wouldn't give me the time of day. Joan, I haven't been rejected that quickly since college.
I'm sorry to hear that, Dan. I mean, I'm happy it's been a long time. Yes.
I mean, it was just no conversation. And I was trying to help her. So Heidi can't just whatever. You know what? She's a Democrat, and she's a very lefty Democrat. So whatever. If she chooses not to want to go on the record, that's fine. And by the way,
you got to start recording your phone calls, Dan.
Yeah.
In the state of Tennessee, do you need consent from the other party in order to record?
It's a one-party consent state.
I love it.
Yeah. Now,
but here's the deal.
It's classy to declare it, I'll say.
Here's the deal.
On a recorded line.
If I cared enough about Heidi Campbell to do that, I would have thought about it. I just don't care that much. Do you know what I mean? I just don't, if she does want to, go on the record and have a really, big radio station talk about how Freddie O'Connell was not doing right by her constituents and she didn't want to do it because of politics, that's on Heidi Campbell. That's on her. And Matt Murphy and I were two different people, and I tried to tell her that. Now, I didn't tell her this, but I love what Matt did when he kicked her out of the studio. But whatever. It's moving right along from there. So it is what it is. Now everyone is telling me their favorite movie. We will do that at 8:35 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Oh, by the way, people are guessing that... No, it's not Jurassic Park. It's very good, though, but it's not Jurassic Park. You got another one? If you got another one, we can do it real quick because I got to pull up my Epstein audio. I'll tell you what, though, this other movie that I'm thinking about has a great soundtrack. All right? Epstein Files. Joan, have you been watching the whole Epstein Files thing?
Oh, yeah.
Monday was the day that some members of Congress could visit an office to see the unredacted Epstein files. Epstein, of course, this is the headline from the Daily Mail from this morning. Jeffrey Epstein had a 9-year-old victim and was associated with a current top foreign government official, lawmakers have revealed after viewing redacted files. Representatives Thomas Massie, a Republican, Ro Khanna, a Democrat, revealed during a Monday press conference that 6 men are likely incriminated in the files. So just a couple of tidbits. There was a passage about how Trump was the first to blow the whistle on Epstein. I've talked about that ad nauseum. We all know this, including telling investigators to go after Ghislaine Maxwell. That is in the Epstein files. There's another passage about how a girl, again, as young as 9 years old, was involved in all of this as a victim. Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie held a press conference yesterday after seeing a lot of these files, and here's part of what they said.
In this country, we have to make a decision. Are we going to allow rich and powerful people who were friends and no problem doing business and showing up with a pedophile who was raping underage girls? Are we just going to allow them to skate? Or like other countries, are we going to have elite accountability and have accountability for the people who did that? Most Americans believe we need accountability.
Right. And it was with that backdrop that they answered questions from reporters about what they saw in the files. We had the 3 million files that have dropped. And these two looked at the files for several hours, and they were especially intrigued by the redactions. This is the big headline. 6 names, men, redacted.
There are 6 men, some of them with their photographs, that have been redacted, and there's no explanation why those people were redacted. And
so we have seen pages released where basically the whole thing is redacted. And while they say the staff allowing them to see this information was great, the redactions were a little bit too much.
Our bigger concern is that there's still a lot that's redacted. Even in what we're seeing redacted versions. I thought we were supposed to see the unredacted versions, and that's because the documents produced to justice from the FBI, from the grand jury, was redacted when they got it. So we kept doing the searches for the unredacted information. And it's the identical redactions that they have. Now, I don't think that's nefarious on the career attorneys that were reviewing it, but they obviously haven't gotten the production because our law says that the FBI and the original grand jury needs to be unredacted.
So the DOJ has received the documents from the grand jury and the FBI in redacted form. So bottom line is you've got to now go to the grand jury and the FBI and say, we need those unredacted documents. If those unredacted documents still exist. I mean, they must, but where are they? Maybe nobody knows or somebody knows. So now the 2 guys who were all about the Epstein files for years, right? Kash Patel and the now exited Dan Bongino. Eyes have to be on them because they're the guys who were the most vocal, along with Pam Bondi. They were the most vocal about the Epstein files. And now you've got Kash Patel. He's being asked to go find the unredacted versions. Bongino, of course, as everyone knows, leaving the FBI. But, and I've said this before, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, they made a really good living talking about the Epstein files for years. Now you had Dan Bongino and you still have Kash Patel. Kash Patel is in charge of the FBI. They are or were in a position to go find the unredacted versions. So I would have to say to Kash Patel, where are the unredacted versions of these documents that need to be given to the DOJ?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
If you had, 1,000 pieces of paper in front of you, how long do you think it would take you to go through it?
I guess it depends on the complexity, but it would take a long time.
Sure. And if you had maybe 300,000?
Or 3 million?
Or 3 million.
Yep.
Right. So my question is, these 2 guys go in there and by reporting from the Hill, they were there for 2 hours.
Okay.
And they went through 3 million documents and they found 6 men's names. There's something that stinks about this from the very beginning. Something stinks about it. Did somebody tell them where to look? Did somebody say, hey, go here because you're going to find this on this page? Because they certainly didn't go through 3 million documents in the span of 2 hours and come out to the microphones with a big announcement.
So I don't know if they said they went through all 3 million documents. I don't know if they did that or not. That's a great point, though, Joan. Okay, so how did they know where to go?
Exactly.
If they're trying to navigate 3 million pieces of paper, how do you know where to go? Somebody perhaps clued them in. And by the way, Thomas Massey is now said, CNN is reporting this, that he says, I will announce the names of these unredacted, I will announce the names of these redacted individuals if the survivors or the victims want me to.
Oh, so, yeah, Elon's saying he'll pay for anyone's defense if they speak out and they're sued for
Elon's been saying that for a while now.
Yeah.
By the way, more with Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey, their big press conference yesterday talking about what they found in the 3 million Epstein documents that have been dropped.
In some of the redactions, they need to be very careful in whether that was a survivor or not. Just because, for example, someone is female doesn't necessarily mean they're survivors. And it seemed like they blanket redacted anyone who was a female from my review.
Yeah, I would like to give the DOJ a chance to say they made a mistake and over-redacted and let them unredact those men's names. That would probably be the best way to do it.
And, part of this is they seemed miffed that the files were still redacted. Because remember, the legislation that was passed and Donald Trump signed was very specific. The files need to be unredacted.
I mean, what we're after is the men who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked women to. We want those names published. We're not out to embarrass people. And the problem is we went in there hoping to see that in 302 forms. What we found out is those 302 forms were redacted before they got to the DOJ. But our legislation directs the FBI, which is the agency that produced those 302 forms, to also produce these documents.
So their focus clearly is going to be on these 6 men. They say that these 6 men have been implicated. So they want Pam Bondi, the AG, to do some more, as they said, homework to let them know who these 6 guys are that had little girls trafficked for them or to them. Apparently, one of the guys is a higher up, they say, in a foreign government. The other is said to be a prominent individual, they say. The question everyone wants to know is, was Donald Trump's name in the files? So there's a lot of, there's a few comments about Donald Trump in the files. Nothing, though, that would incriminate the president. I mean, to me, part of what looks good for the president is the fact that, they say that Donald Trump said everybody knew that this was going on, and he was one of the first ones to come forward when the investigation began. And Donald Trump said, I'm really, really glad that you guys are finally looking into this, talking about the investigators. And so, at least so far, there's some, vague, non-credible accusations about the president. And what is credible and what is a fact is that Donald Trump, again, was one of the first ones, and we've known this for a long time, to actually work with the investigators. Now, this is kind of creepy, Joan.
Yeah.
Why would Jeffrey Epstein buy 330 gallons of sulfuric acid?
That is, what? I spent a little time yesterday looking up exactly what sulfuric acid does.
Okay, so...
Yeah.
I think the overriding possibility is that, and Sam was telling me about this, is that you can dissolve a body with sulfuric acid.
Specifically, it came in the form of 6 55-gallon drums, which is plenty big to stuff a full-grown adult into, let alone a child.
Does it take out the bones and everything?
So it will eventually dissolve everything over the course of a couple of weeks. There will be no trace after a couple of weeks.
He didn't need any of that. He just needed some pigs. Pigs will do the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Some of those wild pigs they got out there in Texas. Holy mackerel.
Here's the interesting thing, though, is that he ordered it the exact same day that the FBI investigation was renewed or opened into him. So someone in the FBI could have tipped him off that there's an investigation coming. You better delete all evidence.
Including
any
people. Witnesses.
No body, no DNA. No reference, especially if you've been trafficked your whole life. You're not in any database or anything. And this is all started databasing, I guess, when it came to kids and DNA and stuff like that. No dental records to go through, and obviously no teeth to be found if you've been dissolved.
You see those pigs? You ever seen pigs eat? Those wild pigs?
Have you ever seen those pig hunts people go on in Texas and Arkansas?
They're crazy.
From a chopper? I'm all about it.
Yeah.
All right, we got to go. It is 6:23. By the way, who is the Trump administration official who is now caught up in all of this, and it does not look good for one Howard Lutnick? I want to welcome on into the program farmer and attorney Dustin Kittle, and one of my favorite guests. Dustin, always great to have you on. And we asked you to be on because I know that you've been watching this whole situation with the Duck River, where we've had this emergency water usage warning in effect for Manchester, Tullahoma, and the surrounding areas. Our own Joan Jones has been keeping us updated on this. Dustin, good morning. Joan has been getting text messages from is it the Water Commission, Joan?
It's the Duck River Utility Commission.
And they've been telling Joan and residents that it is their fault, basically, that they may run out of water, and they're losing about 1 million gallons of water a day, which is, stunning to me. And it turns out that they had some sort of a big old leak. And so I wanted to have you on to talk a little bit about this, because I know that you've been watching this whole scenario. So apparently now, Dustin Kittle, the issue has been solved, but not without a lot of confusion. So, Dustin, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Dan. And yes, I've been following this story and actually checking updates through the night. They, as you mentioned, originally they had come out, the Duck River Utility Commission, and indicated that it was a use issue following Winter Storm Fern, that people were using more to the tune of 1 million extra gallons per day. And as you mentioned, they had to walk that back a couple of days later when they realized that at least a part of the issue was the fact that they had leaks in their own system. And yesterday they made an announcement and had all users terminate using their water completely because they had found an issue with a broken valve pipe. And that repair took until about 7 o'clock last night. It's my understanding the system's still repressurizing, but it should be back to services as usual today.
So how old? Well, okay, first of all, there seemed to be a lot of confusion. Joan was looking at, I think, their X feed and their Facebook and text messages, and it seemed like and Joan, chime in here, it seemed like the messages were all different.
So initially, now our utility company is Hillsville Utility. They use water from the Duck River Commission, from the Duck River Utility Commission. And they were saying initially, now I'll read you the message that we got. It said, stop all water use immediately unless absolutely necessary. Duck River Utility has just shut off the water supply to repair a major leak. Continued use will drain the system. We'll alert you when repairs are complete. Now, that message came at February 9th, so yesterday at 11:18 a.m., okay? Right after that came another message that came at 2:13 p.m., and it said, good news, Duck River repairs are progressing well. Rumor control, we have not shut down the Hillsville water system, nor have we issued emergency shutoffs due to a lack of water. So which one? It's so
what's
confusing.
Going on?
And then later on, they sent, "Hey, we've got everything fixed. Thanks for we've got that leak repaired." And in the meantime, they have been blaming users for using too much water, which is insane. It was 1 million gallons more per day.
And I would add on that, Dan, that much like what we've seen with Nashville Electric over the last few weeks, a major part of this is a communications problem.
Yeah.
You have the Duck River Utility Commission, and as you mentioned, they are at the top of the umbrella, so to speak. And then from there, it goes down to Tullahoma and Manchester, and then they disperse to the various communities. So all of these communities, in addition to Tullahoma and Manchester, are effectively wholesale water purchasers from Duck River Utility. And I think that what we have seen, at least what I've seen over the last few days, is Duck River Utility Commission needs to up the ante as far as putting some work into their own communications, because exactly as you mentioned, we have seen over the last few days mixed messages that came out of Manchester, that came out of Hillville, as you mentioned, and came out of Tullahoma. And a major part of that is that there's not a central voice at the top that's at least directing that discussion.
And they're not using the same form of communication either. So some of the messages were emailed messages, some were sent as text messages directly to consumers, and others were posts on Facebook that people were reading broadly and going, hey, what the heck is happening? So they need to not only have one message voice, but they need to have one central place where they're putting that message out.
Here's my other question. Okay, so they need to work on their messaging clearly, but let's zoom out a little bit. How is the infrastructure? Like they had a leak. They apparently didn't even know that they had a leak. They're blaming the residents in their water usage. Is this something that is going to be worrisome moving forward? Are these communities and the water infrastructure, how old is it, and is it in some form of disrepair?
Well, and that's really the bigger question, Dan, is what it's going to look like going forward. And I think the unmistakable truth here is the fact that they have gotten at least close to their capacity limits for a leak to be something that essentially could end the ability for their citizens to have water. And I tried to do some quick math last night as far as capacity rates, but I would estimate even in losing an additional 1 million gallons per day, they had to be somewhere over the 80% threshold. And that's something that folks here in Murray County, where we are located, that we've looked at with the Duck River lately, because we found out that Columbia Power and Water Systems had hit 93% of their water capacity. And then all of a sudden, all these utilities are trying to rush to get something done. There's been a complete lack of planning, again, not unlike what we saw with Nashville Electric. Winter Storm Fern has just been a stress test on all of these utilities. And the Duck River water system is going to be something to watch, because we're talking about a waterway that provides drinking water to probably as many as 300,000 people right now that are in the Duck River Basin, and it's their single source of water supply. So any kind of failure that you have at any of these utilities along the way turns into a complete catastrophe.
All right, Dustin Kittle joining us here on Super Talk 99.7. More coming up next on the Duck River. So, Dustin, here's the other thing, is that all of these, I don't know if they're, and you would probably know more than me, I don't know if there is a county in Tennessee that is not growing. So is there an easy way to, look at the Duck River and the water usage and all this? Are they going to be able to expand? Because we all know that Tennessee itself is expanding in Manchester and Tullahoma and the surrounding areas. And so there's a lot of expanding that is being done. And does the Duck River Utility Commission, are they going to be able to keep up with that growth?
I think it's going to be really difficult, and that's where we've really hit kind of a precipice in time as far as what we're going to do with this development in Middle Tennessee. I looked at the population numbers last night in Columbia here locally, and in the last 5 years, we've grown as much as what we had the prior 30 years combined. And so certainly that's going to create situations to where it strains the infrastructure. And it's almost like some of these municipalities, some of these elected officials didn't take that into consideration at all. We've not built the infrastructure at the same rate that we have provided things like water permits. And it's going to take elected officials making some difficult decisions as far as controlling this growth. It's something we did in Murray County recently, to where there's been a building moratorium at the county level. But we still have cities like Columbia and Spring Hill, and it's the case all across Middle Tennessee, that are continuing to pass out permits to build. And at some point, we've got to say no. We've got to say that we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the water resources to serve the existing residents. And we've got to stop thinking about how to make the next dollar and think about how to serve these people who are depending on this. That's what these elected officials were put in place to do.
I'll tell you what, Dustin, I loved when I first moved to Middle Tennessee, my family and I moved to Spring Hill, and I couldn't get out of there fast enough because there was all of these people and all of these businesses moving to Spring Hill. And I've talked about this before. They didn't have the roads. And so I would be stuck on Main Street in Spring Hill for what seemed like forever because there was, it felt like at the time, only one real main road through town. So I don't know if it's any, I don't know if I've even been back to Spring Hill since I moved away from it. And it's a great community. People want to know, are there, if they live in this area, do you see that water bills are going to have to go back up as they contemplate how to increase and upgrade the system?
Well, that's certainly been the case here in Murray County, where they've just taken out, they've approved to take out a $520 million loan. And of course, they're going to pass that cost on to the ratepayers. And it's going to be the case across the board, I think, here in Middle Tennessee. And again, the easier answer there, instead of passing this on to the ratepayers, and instead of having to take drastic steps to completely alter infrastructure, is let's slow the pace of the building. We've got, as you mentioned, places like Spring Hill, places like Columbia, they're never going to out Nashville. And what they've got that's special is this rural landscape that a lot of us wanted to come in and live in. And so I hope that elected officials over the next few years can take a hard look at that so that we can make some significant changes to improve lives for the people who actually live here.
Joan, you got anything else for Dustin Kittle? I got nothing. Very good, Dustin.
Just a note here that I'm watching all the mainstream media outlets, the local outlets here this morning. They're not saying anything about this leak having been fixed and that this emergency is over. They're continuing to say, hey, you're on the brink of a disaster. Everybody stop using your water. And I have talked to somebody at Channel 4 this morning. They're actually waiting for the utility itself, for the people there to wake up and call their television station and say, yeah, that's true. They won't go with what we know right now about the utility having been fixed.
You literally have a text message.
I sent them the text message, and they said, no, we're going to wait for the utility, the CEO or somebody of authority to say so. So they're still telling everybody that we're on the brink of a disaster. It's not true anymore, folks. And you're learning it here apparently first this morning.
Wow.
It's crazy.
I wouldn't wash that car yet, though. I still think that they're up against it a little bit as far as a capacity issue.
Yeah.
And they did, though, as you mentioned, they did fix that valve last night around 7 o'clock. So service is supposed to be back to normal, but I'm going to bet over the next few days they're going to be watching this closely because, again, I'm going to guess that they're somewhere close to the 90% mark in capacity, and they don't have a lot of margin for error here. So
yeah, they did say to continue conservation efforts. So, yes, there is that. But
Can I ask a really dumb question? So, Dustin, how did they not – they were blaming, the people like Joan, the customers. How hard is it to find 100 million gallon a day leak? I mean, that sounds like a lot of water. How is that difficult?
Well, this one, I think this one was a 1 million gallon a day leak, and I think that they caught this one right away. But I'll give you a quick example of a city that did something right. City of Mount Pleasant down here in Murray County, they recently did a leak detection, and they found out afterwards that they were leaking water out at a clip of 450,000 gallons per day. That's definitely something we need these municipalities to do, is to do leak detection, find out how much of this Duck River we are siphoning out and then pouring back on the ground.
Interesting.
Yes.
All right, very good. Dustin, as always, thank you very much for your input here on Nashville's Morning News.
Thank you.
He's so smart.
Do you know, I heard, Sam, I heard that when Joan realized she was being blamed by the utility companies for losing that 1 million gallons of water a day, she said, "Quack you," to the Duck River. The Duck River.
Okay, Dan. Well,
Hey, look at the time.
That was terrific.